Georgia State men's and women's basketball met in the Cajun Dome against the Cayenne Peppers and the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns. It was a split series. The women lost, the men won.
Yep.
You are watching Primetime Sports Talk. I am Joey Redmond, and this is my partner, Nathan Nair. We are on the second to last episode of the basketball season, the final episode being Saturday, when Georgia State men's and women's go on to take on University of Louisiana at Monroe, also down south there below Interstate 10 in Louisiana around the New Orleans area. It was. Go ahead. What was you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's getting emotional, man. We're running down to the end.
It's getting emotional.
This basketball stuff.
We've had a great run.
We have.
We have. It's not over yet.
It's not.
I think it may be the last show for you and I though, on the year.
Yeah.
Right. We expect that. So we'll see how it goes. But fun little tidbit. If you've been following the series this long, the very first episode, David Shealy and I sat up here and we opened up with the Georgia State Panthers and the Raging Cajuns. So we are full circle at this point, all the way through the season. One episode left. But let's not dwell on that. We've got a whole couple games to cover. Let's get started. Opening with the women. As I flip to the correct stat sheet, our final score, again, I previewed a loss for the women. It was 60-65 to the Raging Cajuns. We have had some struggles with the women in the past. It has been a very roller coaster season. I'm going to continue to go back to the beginning here, even for the women. We opened up against Kennesaw State University on the road. When David and I spoke about that game, we were very adamant on 10 new players for the Georgia State women's basketball team. And it was great to see them open up with that kind of, arguably, what you'd expect to be lack of chemistry on the road against Kennesaw State University. And we expected some fabulous things throughout the season. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. As right now, with this loss, their overall record has dropped to 10-18 on the year. I will even call myself out. I said on camera, you can go back and watch the first tape, I expected them, and I was maybe a prisoner of the moment, in the exciting aspect of these new players winning on the road against KSU. I said they would have a better record this season than they did the previous season. That is an impossibility at this point, far gone impossibility. They're 5-14 inside the Sun Belt Conference. They have absolutely guaranteed themselves nothing more than an opportunity to start the offseason early, since they are not going to any tournament or championship of any sort at the end of this season, which again ends on Saturday.
Correct.
65-60 loss. It was good to see Makiba Ponder, which is a name that we don't talk about very much. It's usually sort of the Madison newbie talk show, almost, when we bring up the women. So it was good to see the sophomore Makiba Ponder, who was the all-star freshman that jumped onto the scene last year, that just sort of blew the doors off of her own expectations for the season and the expectations for the team in some sense. And we were looking forward to her being a veteran, even after a single year, just how skilled she was, being an actual veteran to help lead these 10 new players into the program. That didn't seem to happen as often as we would have liked, but 19 points tonight, it's a good sign.
It is a good sign, man. I think we were waiting on this all year.
Yes.
To see her blow up, and she definitely did blow up in this game. She pulled all the right strings, and from three, that shot was falling left and right, man.
Yes, she was doing good. She was 5 for 8 on threes.
Yes, she was. And let me talk about the whole game. Let's break it down.
Sure.
Overall, the game was good. I don't have a lot of bad stuff to talk about, man.
Me neither.
We've had a bad rap of just saying bad stuff on this show. But today, me and you and Caleb in the control room, we watched the game. Not a lot of bad stuff to talk about. I just think the better team just happened to win today.
And I think we've, as a collective group of analysts, have come to a conclusion. This was mainly sparked by David. Come to a conclusion that at this point, it's just a rebuilding year.
It is.
I think, again, this is really just speaking for myself, but it did seem to fester through the rest of us on staff. Winning away in the open the season sort of caught us in the prisoner of the moment. We expected bigger things.
Right.
And we continued to sort of latch onto that and maybe be more critical than was necessary. At this point, I think we understand it's a rebuilding year. And with that in mind, they lost by 5, but there were 7 tied points, and the lead changed 6 times. So it's not like they got blown out by any means. It's not like they were constantly struggling, constantly fighting. And Louisiana women's are not bad. They're 19-9. They're 12-7 in the Sun Belt. So this is a great women's basketball team. And Georgia State held their own despite their abysmal record in comparison. So it was an awesome game, especially when all you're looking for is promise for seasons moving forward.
Yeah, we definitely saw that. The younger people stepped up. I mean, you know, we were talking about Makiba Ponder. Even Madison Newby, even though she had a lot of turnovers, there were some instances where she would drive the lane, get the foul, and that's what we're looking for as far as a basketball team. You want somebody to crash, put the ball on the floor, take it to the hole, get the foul, get to the line. And it was the younger individuals on this team that were doing those things rather than the seniors.
Right.
So us talking about it being a rebuilding year, the future is looking bright for this Georgia State Lady Panthers team. So, you know, I mean, you know, I really...
I think some of the point about the younger players stepping in place of the seniors is because they know the season is over. Right? Sharon Baldwin-Tenner, the head coach, understands that, okay, I've got all this young talent. It's really time for me to give them a lot of minutes. I don't need the seniors anymore. As nice as we would like, you know, or as much as we would like to see the seniors play as it closes out this year, they've already had their final home game, right? There's no more home games. That was it was their senior night. It was their moment. I think as a head coach, he's doing the right thing by, okay, your moment came and it passed. Okay, now it's time to really look to the next season. Let's see what these young players can do with the kind of time and the minutes that I'd normally give a senior in what otherwise would be considered a very big, important game. Right. And I think she got a lot of good answers here, especially from Makiba. Now, Makiba has had lots and lots of chances to put these kind of numbers up before these games. Okay, it's not as if all of a sudden she just finally found. I mean, she did have 32 minutes, which was quite a bit, but we've seen her have 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 23 minutes back and forth from different games. Right. So this doesn't mean, oh well, the secrets of getting Makiba to be more productive is just give her more minutes. Right. She's had more minutes. This was just a great game for her, and congratulations. Right. And we're happy about that. What I like to see is, you brought up Madison Newby. Madison has a tendency to be the kind of player that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. Right. The stat sheet is not indicative of the performance. I think exactly twice, maybe 3 times if you go back and watch the tape, Madison had some awesome passes. She did. Specifically to Haley Guerin. I only think one time did it actually turn into points. But wow, they were great passes. I mean, they were physical. She was really moving with the ball well, getting around defenders, moving through the paint in tight spaces, and just finding avenues for the ball to travel, even in the way that, excuse me if I cut your face off here, you know, with the person under center or underneath the hoop has to reach up with one hand and kind of palm the ball in. She was positioning the ball in those kind of places to try to make that kind of play. As a freshman, to have that kind of vision is really good to see, and that's not going to show up on paper.
It is, yeah. And that's great that you mentioned that. She only recorded 3 assists. Right. But watching this game, there should have been like 6.
And she still leads the Sun Belt Conference in assists.
In assists,
If you watched, David recently put out a package about that. She leading the Sun Belt Conference in assists. Or maybe it's still yet to come. It's coming if it hasn't. It's out there. It's going to be a good one, trust me.
But, you know, her putting those players in those positions, they happen to not finish those. Right. But her being able to, having that on a team is awesome. It's great. You know, your big men have to just catch the ball and put it in. So having somebody like that is very valuable, and she's just a freshman. So we have yet to see what she can do down the road, which is very exciting.
And the ladies don't have necessarily big men, big women, on the roster. So if we could see maybe, you know, do I expect every single one of these players to come back? Not necessarily. No. In college, it's a little more typical, but it's rarely you get 100% return. So if you can find some freshmen that come in that actually have some size and take advantage of Madison's ability to pass, you know, and get those down low shots, get up above people. I think, and we're going to speak about this in the men's game as well, but the Cajuns, I don't specifically remember the Lady Cajuns having bigger players.
No, I think we're evenly matched across.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't see height and weight stats on the sheet I'm looking at here, but they still managed to get a pretty impressive number of over player shots. You know, like 2 people in their face. They were creating space and just getting it over their fingertips. And a number of offensive rebounds, which is another highlight of the men's game. Again, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But that was, it's hard to defend that. Sometimes it's just a good shot.
It's just better offense.
And that's when you see the better team just simply win.
And you know, now that we're sticking on the topic of Madison, she had a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, she did. She's physical.
She had 9 turnovers, and she said it before. The reason why she has so many turnovers is because she's trying to make something happen. Now, that is a reasonable statement.
Right.
But at the same time, you know,
it's a little cliche.
It is.
Because you're never not trying to make something happen in a game. You're never just standing there doing nothing.
Right.
You shouldn't be.
Right, and she's young.
Right.
So she's still learning the collegiate level of basketball here at Georgia State.
Definitely.
So I expect if she's able to cut down those turnovers, right, and keep that physical play, it's gonna be lights out for these Lady Panthers, I think, because she can take these Lady Panthers to the promised land. I'm thinking, man.
I got 4 words maybe we can take away from this game, wrap up, go to game balls.
What we got?
The future is bright.
Right.
Boom. That's the lesson. For the women, the future is bright. And we'll stand by that. Game balls. You feel good?
I feel good.
Want to switch?
Let's go game balls.
Okay.
Let's go.
You said you wanted to do this on the fly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you think.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll jump in.
Go first.
Okay. So this is somebody who, you know, it's easy to give this kind of a player the points,
Right.
or the game ball, I mean.
Right.
But it's somebody who we've mentioned we continuously hope to see more of this. We've wanted to see more of this from her. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I do.
Makiba Ponder, MP. I'm honestly giving it to her because I'm just happy to see her have done this.
Right.
You know, I'm not typically the guy that's going to give the game ball to the person that just scores the most points.
Right.
Because that doesn't always mean you were the best player.
That's true.
Necessarily. But she's just such a great talent. And I want so desperately for her to continue to have this kind of production going into her junior year now. You know, the window's closing. It closes fast in college. Mm-hmm. And not too many players finish their senior year in sports. Sometimes they go elsewhere. They draft out. They go to, you know, overseas leagues, things like that. You know, so who knows how much longer she has. And again, I really hope we see some more good things from her because 19 points against a great team doesn't come easy, which means she's got it in here.
Right.
So I want to see some more. Go ahead.
Oh, let's see. I'm going to agree with you.
Okay.
But
I predicted we would.
That,
I predicted we would match on this.
And, well, I mean, one of the reasons is because of the points. She led this team. She kept them in the game. She hit the shots at the right time because the game stayed relatively close throughout.
Again,
the most time,
6 lead changes, 7 ties. So,
but the main thing for me, it was going into halftime, close to the end of the second quarter. We were holding the ball for milking the shot clock, and we got the ball stolen, and the Cajuns made a blunder because the shot clock turned off, but they still went up for the shot anyway with like 14 seconds left. They missed it. We got the rebound. Outlet to Makiba. She dribbles it out, gets to the center of the court, does a little sidestep, jump shot 3, bang.
Yeah, it was a great one.
Going into halftime.
Yeah.
And that was such a crazy shot. I think it took much skill, and it showed some of her veteran leadership, so to say. That shot just did it for me. I think I was just sitting there watching the game, and I'm like, game ball.
That moment. No matter what happened after that, it was game ball for you.
That moment I knew.
That's respectable.
So, MP, ×2.
Back to back.
We're doing that.
That's good.
Congratulations. So,
men's game.
Let's move
on.
Go
ahead and put that beautiful game ball. God, I still love this thing. I still can't quite get over this game ball. So nice.
So beautiful.
All right.
Let's transition, man.
Yes. We have a victory.
We do.
We have a victory.
Wow,
it was a great victory.
It was a good victory.
72-69. This game was a performance.
It was.
It wasn't necessarily an Oscar-winning performance. I'm going to use that relevancy. Is that Oscar still relevant at this point?
Yeah, I think
close
so.
enough? All right.
Close.
It wasn't an Oscar-winning performance, but it was an Oscar nominee-worthy performance.
Yeah.
Definitely, at least.
Down to the end.
72-69. With the men, you can usually kind of open up with, it was a tale of 2 halves, you know. We sort of traditionally see the men do pretty well in the first half, really look like they're going to figure things out, and then they flip to the second half, and whatever lead they had or whatever momentum they had, they just can't seem to keep it or just can't seem to get it back. It's been a consistent issue. Only some exceptions. Georgia Southern's a great one where they really came out big, but that was a huge in-state rivalry, so sometimes you rule those out of the equation.
Yep.
But in this case, check this out. Field goal percentage, 50% for GSU,
Great number.
45% for UL.
Great number.
3-point shot percentage, 40% for GSU, 33% for UL. We had free throws, 75% for GSU, 74% for UL. Just edged them out in basically every category, which was fantastic. And that's how you win ball games.
That is. And one of the main ones, turnovers. We only had 7 to UL's 14.
Mm-hmm.
Turnovers, if you win the turnover battle, man, more than likely, you're going to win that game.
It's not just turnovers, though. Highlight the points. Highlight the points off turnovers. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
It's 7 total turnovers at GSU, 15 points off those turnovers, okay? 14 turnovers for UL,
Yes.
only 10 points off their 14 turnovers.
So-
So talk about ultimate capitalization on their turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, that again, it's just about taking advantage of literally every part of the game.
Yeah.
If you let any part of the game slip, there's a good chance you're going to lose.
Right. And we ended up capitalizing on these turnovers, whether it was fast break or just setting up the play again and capitalizing on whatever, getting points off of those turnovers. It's like you said, it's very important, and we did that today, and hence the win.
And there was a lot of diversity in the scoring. 10 players hit that double-digit score mark.
Yeah.
Right? We had all the people you'd expect.
Four players.
Four players,
Four
sorry.
players,
What did
yeah.
I say?
10 players.
10 players. I'm sorry. I looked down at Jeremy Hollowell's score, and he shot 10 points. That's where I was going to start. It was 4 players. That's the whole roster shooting double digits. We had 200 points in this game. Hallowell shot 10. Williams shot 5. Ware shot 16. Kreider shot 14.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they all hit like 10, 11. They were exceeding past that mark, and that's contribution.
Yeah, we don't see it every day.
We don't.
What we usually see is Kevin Ware in the double digits. We'll see Hollowell in the double digits.
Yes.
And Williams lately in the double digits. Isaiah Williams, who's been tearing it up right now. That's what we usually see from this Georgia State men's basketball team. But this game, almost all the starters, got double-digit scoring, and it's an even spread. And that spread is going to win you games, man. So.
We were very nervous as we were watching this game live because, wow, I think I'm going to forget the halftime score. I think it was Georgia State was leading at the half. I think it was something like 45 to 51.
Yeah, I think we had like a 5 to 6
It was like a 5-6 point lead, something along those lines. I might give or take a point or two.
Right.
But it was roughly that spread. Looked pretty good, but I looked over at Nathan and Caleb, and I said, look, it's Georgia State basketball. Don't get excited here yet because we still have a whole second half to play. And who knows what's going to happen. We typically don't see it hold through.
Right.
And it really looked that way because finally, midway through the second half, about 7 minutes left, UL finally got their first lead
of
the game by a point. They just edged out over a point. And at that point, it was a dogfight.
It was. Coming out the gate, second half, UL was
thrashing
Georgia State. One of their players is Washington. I forget his first name, but he had 21 points and 10 rebounds. And coming out the second half, he had I think 2 straight opportunities to get to the line. So they stopped the clock and were getting points on the board. So they're inching closer to tying the game. And then he ended up getting an and one down that way. So they were finding ways to get to the rim in the second half, and we weren't even finishing at the rim. So,
That was awful for a very long stretch of time.
It was
a reasonable 5 minutes. We maybe shot a dozen times, put down 1.
Maybe 1 or 2 points.
And they weren't tough shots. I mean, they were under the basket, just not getting the ball around the rim. It was just bad basketball.
Yeah, and on the other side, Washington would come down, they would find him, and he would muscle in there and play big boy basketball. Sessions was getting dominated during this game by Washington. And you could see it in the points, 21 points and 10 rebounds for this guy.
And when we would miss those easy shots, Washington, I highlighted this in the women's session, we were going to bring this up, he was getting those offensive rebounds.
Good point.
Enormous offensive rebounds. And they were physical offensive rebounds. He was taking them away from us, and then UL was generating that into some offensive momentum, and that's when they started to pull away. But it was pull away for UL. Georgia State edged them out. UL edged it out. And then I think finally as the game closed, Georgia State managed to not only get the lead, but keep the lead and put on, and this is maybe where the Oscar nomination comes in, one of the greatest defensive performances I have seen from the men all season long.
Yeah, there was like 2 minutes left. We got the lead, and Donaldson.
What a guy.
Austin Donaldson.
What a freshman.
Coach Hunter found the perfect time to put this guy in there. He scored 9 points, and all 9 of those were critical.
And that was off the bench.
Off the bench,
and
all 9 points.
Total for GSU, we had 15 points off the bench. UL had 3. Right. And again, I think Ron Hunter is doing a little bit of maybe a similar strategy like the women. Of course, we should mention that GSU is in fact in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Okay, they are going, so that's great for them. But at this point, what we're looking at is Ron Hunter maybe trying to play with some of the freshman mixes because there's really nothing. There has not. Excuse me. Let me slow down. There has not been a single offensive 5 that has consistently been the go-to starting lineup at any point in the season. it's been a lot of changing of hands back and forth. We've seen a lot of momentum.
Right.
Recently, as the season has come to a close, we've seen a lot of Isaiah Williams.
We have.
On the starting lineup, we've seen a lot more time from Austin Donaldson.
And that has worked out, the Isaiah Williams.
Isaiah Williams has been amazing.
We have seen that work out.
He finds moments to make a difference.
He does.
And that's what separates, the RJ Hunters of the world from the rest of the team. They find moments to make a difference. They don't take absurd shots.
Right.
Okay, they don't take unnecessary risks. He went 3 for 5, 3 for 9. No, sorry, 3 for 4. I'm going three pointers here. 3 for 4 on his 3-point shots. That's awesome. And they weren't scrubbed threes either. Not even a little bit.
No.
They were key moment threes.
Yeah, one of them I remember was late in the shot clock, had like 4 seconds left, did his dribble, found some space, hit a 3, and another one was in the 4-minute range when the game was closing. Those threes are really clutch, man. And this dude,
they put pressure on the other team.
Not only the threes, he's finding ways to get to the lane, and he's one of the smaller guys on the team.
Right.
But for him to say, you know what, I'm taking it to the hole, and he's getting to the basket, and he's putting them in. It's crazy.
As you mentioned that, there's one highlight that popped into my head where he came around the left side of the basket. He was sort of crossing through the paint from the right to the left, comes around the left side of the basket and had 2 UL defenders in his face, both bigger than he, because he is not a tall guy.
Right.
And he puts the ball with his left hand over the top of both of them and gets the 2 points.
Yeah.
And that's tough to do. I think everybody on the basketball team is capable of that.
Right.
Okay? But a lot of them, they'll have a tendency to maybe rush. They'll have a tendency to fight too much. We see a lot of players get fouls. We have a tough time with fouls.
We do.
We
do.
And I don't know if I've ever seen, I'm sure he has, but as the fouls that come to mind when I talk about Georgia State fouls, Isaiah Williams isn't one of the players that comes to mind, right?
No,
There's certainly,
not.
you have your TJ Shipes, your Marcus Kreiters, right? Even Jeremy Hollowell from time to time can find himself in some foul trouble. Isaiah Williams by no means is immune, but he doesn't come to mind when you think about that issue.
He finds a way. He plays smart. Basically, that's what it all boils down to, ladies and gentlemen. Playing smart, and he finds a way to play almost the whole game.
For sure.
If anything, he has 2 fouls or 3 fouls by the end of the game, and that's okay. That's fine. Maybe, and most of them are good fouls. You're gonna have to foul some people to make them earn it at the line.
Right.
So this guy basically plays the whole game alongside maybe Kevin Ware most of the time. So this guy's playing smart early in his career, and he still has some time left here at Georgia State. So it's going to be really exciting to see what this dude can do, man.
So Isaiah Williams, Aaron Donaldson, Austin Donaldson, has made sort of the end of the season a little more exciting than I think we expected it to be. We're seeing things from seniors we might expect. Kevin Ware, he's still doing what he does. He has his moments, but he still managed to come out clutch in big moments, right? With that being said, well, if you want to make a point, go ahead real quick, and then I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, the main thing I want to say is all of this game is going into the tournament.
Okay, we're on the same page here, so go ahead and start.
Going into the tournament, this is great that these two dudes are clicking. If Ron Hunter has a game plan, so to say, I would do the same thing. Have Donaldson come in late as a spark. If you're feeling kind of stagnant on offense, have him come in, and maybe he can come in and drop some good buckets, or he's very pesky. So he can get the ball, the steal, and go in for a layup. So if, with all these good things that are coming late, I feel like this is going to be good for Georgia State going into the tournament. Now, I don't know what's going to happen once they're in the tournament. I don't know if we'll win a game because we're playing Little Rock, which is number 1 seed.
Right.
But I'm just saying that things are looking up going into this tournament.
And that's where my question was leaning. So you may have answered it ahead of time now, but I was going to ask you, now that you see the season closing this way, of course we still have to play UL Monroe on Saturday, and hopefully that turns out well. But regardless of what happens with the UL game and this game as well, we're in the tournament. One way or another, we're there. I think the seeding might still be up for grabs by maybe 1 or 2 positions here, depending on how other teams do. Georgia Southern, I think, is 1 spot above us, and they lost tonight. So there might see a switch of powers here. We'll see. I have to go back and look at the whole standings here after we're done with the show. But now that we see this, do you think that Georgia State stands a chance to win a game in the conference? I think before the show, before this game, the consensus, at least from our end, has been, look, they're in, that's great, but I don't think they have what it takes to go far, even win a game. But
so
if they do win a game,
I think?
Well, 1, let me break it down. 1, do you think they have enough to win a game? And 2, if they win a game and they get that momentum, do you think they'll continue to win?
Okay, so more than likely we're going to play Little Rock.
Right.
I don't think we're going to win that game because of the fact that the tale of two halves is still in play. Because in this game, Louisiana found a way to come back and take the lead against us in the second half. Now, Little Rock ain't no joke.
No, they're number one for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. So with that in mind, I feel like if we do have a lead going into halftime.
Are they, excuse me real quick, are they undefeated in the conference?
No. They're like, they've lost 3 games.
Okay, 3 games in the conference?
So
okay. I know it's a great record.
It's a great record. So
right.
Let's say we go into the half with the lead against Little Rock, and they come back. They're not looking back. That's what I see it as. They're going to just full throttle.
They're going to finish.
And finish it off. UL didn't find a way to finish off this game, and we got lucky.
Well, I don't know if it was lucky.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that because it's not like UL just played worse than we did.
We played, you're right.
We played very
well. We played well down the stretch.
Right. And I don't think UL played bad down the stretch. I think they just got out muscled near the end, right?
But,
we were getting the turnovers. We weren't fouling was the big deal.
But I don't see it, Joey. I don't see us winning because it's a tale of two halves. That kind of thing that we talked about in this show all the time stayed true in this game.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up winning the game.
Right. But we didn't come out in the second half strong like we need to against a number 1 seeded team in a tournament.
Yeah. So I don't think so. But if we do win a game, beat Little Rock, that would be one of the biggest upsets.
It would be, even maybe bigger than the Baylor game. Who knows? Depending.
We never know because a lot of people are writing us off already.
Right.
Including myself. But if we do, I don't see us getting very far because the tale of two halves of that characteristic is staying true for this Georgia State team.
You and I aren't too far off on that.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'd be beating a dead horse here. Your comments are pretty much dead on with mine. I think that they just don't play strong enough for the whole game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, it's nearly impossible to play a solid, flawless game for both halves. I mean, that's just a lot to ask of a team. But their waves of good play and bad play aren't distinct enough, right? You have about as equal amount of good play as you do bad play, as you do then good play, as you do then bad play. Right. If you have a lot of good play, you struggle a little bit, call a timeout, regroup, come back, good play. That's championship basketball.
Right.
There's not enough of that from the men's basketball team, unfortunately. You wish that there was a go-to guy. You wish that there was somebody that can rally the team. He doesn't exist on this year's team, at least not yet.
Right.
Isaiah Williams, Austin Donaldson,
possibly
maybe
down the road,
maybe. Kevin Ware, he's only got 1 game left as a Georgia State Panther, so his services are soon no longer going to be required, and there's going to have to be somebody that makes a move. Because I think as far as the seniors go, I mean, certainly T.J. Shipes is an unbelievable, outstanding Georgia State Panther basketball player. He's great. I mean, he's a genuine, good student athlete.
Yeah.
Very respectable guy. So he certainly does his part as a senior as well. But it seems to always sort of be Kevin Ware's crown to wear as the leading senior. Right. At least in my opinion.
Okay.
So
I can see that.
So when he's gone, who's going to step up? Who knows? Do they have a guy yet? Not necessarily, and that might be a big reason why they don't go far in the tournament. Right,
but you know what? It'll be exciting to see what these guys do once all our seniors are gone. What kind of adjustments are they going to make? Who's going to step up? That's one of the main things I want to see. Is who's going to be like, you know what? I want to take over this team. I'm going to lead these guys, and I want to prove the doubters wrong.
Sure.
We
all hope that.
Yeah. So we're going to sit back and watch and see what happens.
And we're going to step into game balls.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. All right. You go first this time. We'll switch roles here. Do you need some time to think?
No, I got this.
Are you there? Okay, go ahead.
I think I got this.
Go ahead.
I am going to pick Isaiah Williams. Clutch shots all around. Great three-pointers. He found a way to create some space when he needed to. And he didn't, like we talked about earlier, the threes that he shot weren't just crappy shots. They were timely. They were great. They were the ones that he knew he could make. None of those were erratic. So that was one thing. And the second thing, he put the ball on the ground and took it to the hole. So 2 things. He shoots the three well.
He does.
But for him to take it to the hole and get to the line or just do those crazy layups that he does is awesome. So him down the line, great. So he's one of the main reasons why they won this game. So I'm going to give it to Isaiah Williams, IW.
While you're signing that, this was a tough one.
Man.
Well, we don't talk about these game balls beforehand. We've mentioned that before. But just as we were conversing and we knew we were both thinking about our game ball recipients, I made a comment that this men's game is very difficult. And
why is that?
Well, I just struggling between all the. I mean, someone scored 10, someone scored 15. We had a 16-pointer, we had a 14-pointer. You know, and seniors, we had people off the bench that were stepping up. I mean, there's a lot of good diversity here.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick a guy. Hard to pick a guy.
So let me give you this, and you can just let our viewers know who you're going to pick, man.
So it was a toss-up between Isaiah Williams and Donaldson.
Okay.
And since you picked Isaiah Williams, just so we make sure that we're spreading the love, since we went double on Nakiba, I'm going Donaldson.
I figured you
for this one, right? And he's a deserving guy. 2 home games ago, I'm drawing a blank on who we were playing at that home game. But after the game, we didn't win that home game. But after the game, I went over to. This is way down low, isn't it? I went over to Donaldson and I shook his hand after the game, just because I thought he played spectacularly just throughout. You know, coming off the bench. I hadn't heard much of him at all until late in the season. I mean, I don't think we breathed Donaldson's name.
No, in the beginning of the year.
Ever.
Freshman.
I don't even think I knew he was on the roster.
Yeah, he barely got any playing time.
Right.
Freshman, you typically just stay on the bench and kind of take the game in.
And
right?
you never know what kind of diamonds you have,
right.
Available to you, who you have to turn into a diamond. And maybe, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but Donaldson's moving in the right direction.
Right.
And I did walk up to him after the game. He was standing in the paint, and I walked over and I said, Donaldson, I think you had a fantastic game. I just want to congratulate you on a good performance, and I hope to see, more of that and look forward to the rest of your time here as a Panther. And he just, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I think that was well deserved for him. And I like the guy. I was a big Malik Ben-Levy fan in the beginning of the year, and I'm no longer a Malik Ben-Levy fan. I'm not bandwagon jumping here, but he didn't play.
He's really fallen off.
He didn't play in this game. He was in the rotation mid-season. We saw him doing some starting. Honestly, I'm not totally sure what happened. I think he had a couple of strange shots. We had that half quarter one time with 4 seconds left. It was kind of weird. He's learning. He's a freshman.
Hey, man, when you have the spot and there's a guy behind you, he's looking to take your spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think Donaldson would just happen to get in one game and took the spot, basically.
That's fair.
And that's how the game goes. So
that's good, wise sporting wisdom across the board that I think we can end on.
That's all we dish out here on PTT. Man.
From Nathan Nair. One more home game, game away in Louisiana against Monroe to close the season. We look forward to that. This is my last show. It's Nissan's last show. We will see you for football season, I think is where we're going to transition to next. Maybe something in between. We'll see. But at least football season is definitely on the horizon. But for Primetime Sports Talk, this is Joey Redmond, and this is Nathan Nair. We will see you next time.